Let's unbox the Hot Wheels Starships Select Millennium Falcon and variant. Villa Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Villa Varykino. The Millennium Falcon is of course one of the most famous Star Wars starships, so of course it wasn't going to take too long for it to show up in the Hot Wheels Starships Select line. This is number 7 in the line, a slightly older ship, but I knew that there was a matching battle damaged variant that I wanted to pick up first before I unboxed them. I recently took a look at the TIE Fighter and the matching battle damaged variant, as well as the Ghost and battle damaged variant, and it was really interesting to see how much they were the same and how much they kind of felt different because of that battle damaged paint job. So very excited to get stuck in and compare these two. I think the Millennium Falcon is something that every Star Wars fan should have in some format. This is such a great range if you don't have a lot of space. Maybe you just want one or two things to put by your computer, your office space, your bookshelf. This is such a great size for any fan to add to their collection. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up very soon, I'm going to take a closer look at both of these Millennium Falcons out of the packaging, check out all the cool details and how they compare and feel very different. But first, let's go over the packaging. I do really like the boxes that Hot Wheels uses for this particular line. If you like to keep things in their box, I think it works really well. The one criticism I have is that there isn't a window in the top, so certain ships do look a little bit dark because it is just cardboard at the top. We don't really get light through. For the Millennium Falcon, this one does look a bit better because it is a lighter colored ship and it's tipped to the side so we can see it nice and clearly through this front window. We can see that for the standard version and the battle damage variant, we have pretty much identical packaging with a small difference. The variant here has this sort of blue accent color here, and it also says Starships Select variant. So it's not like you have to go through the ships on the shelf and figure out how they look different. It is very nicely clearly marked. We can see the white title plaque here, Millennium Falcon, and blue on this one, as well as that logo being subtly different. Also, if we take a look at the top, we can see that that blue color is also replicated here. This one has white imagery for the Millennium Falcon blueprint. This one is actually blue, and the faction logos. Of course, we have the Rebellion Rebel symbol here in red. This one is blue, and also the number on the hanger is red on this one, number 7, and this one is blue. So makes it very easy to spot if you are hunting these down at your local store. It's very easy to spot one single blue in amongst a sea of red. Generally speaking, where we are here in New Zealand, it's very easy to find these standard ships. There are some where we are still trying to hunt down the variant versions. They are a lot harder to find for us here. On the back, we can see some of the other ships from this particular assortment. So you can see that these ones actually came out in different waves. This one, we can see the Millennium Falcon, and again here, they do actually use different images. This one we can see is clean, and this one we can just make out the battle damaged paint job on this one. So they do actually do a different job there with the photos. We can see that both of them come with a display stand. I love that about this line. The ones from this wave included Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Interceptor, Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, and the Imperial Shuttle. By golly, that is a white whale for us. We're just still trying to track this one down. Let me know in the comments down below if you have this one in your collection. I'm terribly jealous. I gotta track this one down. I really hope Hot Wheels reissues it for those of us that are still hunting for it. In this particular wave with the battle damaged Millennium Falcon, we also had the AT-AT, Resistance X-Wing Fighter, and First Order TIE Fighter. So it's really interesting to see the different ships that are available in the waves. Let me know if you have that one. Oh golly, it's the one I want the most from this wave. It's such an iconic Star Wars starship. So there we go. That is the packaging. I think these look really fun. You can see that this one is a little bit damaged. We spotted it on the shelf. Both of these were a little bit harder to find, so I had to pick this one up. Never mind the damage. I'm going to be opening it up anyway. So let's get stuck into it and open these two ships up so we can take a closer look. Now I have the standard and variant Millennium Falcons out of the packaging. These boxes here contain the display stands, which we'll assemble in a moment, but I just wanted to quickly show the cardboard insert that is behind the ships in the packaging. Each backing piece here has a fun blueprint style artwork of these ships from that assortment. So we can see the Millennium Falcon, we can see the Jedi Interceptor, and of course the Imperial Shuttle there. And we can see the ships for this assortment where we have the AT-AT, Millennium Falcon, and the Resistance and First Order vehicles. I think these are fun. You can cut out and keep these interesting little blueprint artworks if you are discarding your packaging. I think that's always fun. So let's get stuck in and take a closer look at these vehicles. It's always fun holding them for the first time because they are metal. It's really fun to get a feel for the weight of them because these feel so much heavier than plastic toys. I know you can kind of feel the weight when they're in their box, but you get a truer sense of just how heavy they are with all of that packaging discarded. Wow, I love the detail on these metal vehicles from Hot Wheels. Of course, Hot Wheels, it's in the name, they do vehicles very well. I think this is really fun, and the painting is always pretty spot on. I do like to, on the whole, as a collector, I like to quickly look over ones on the store shelf. The Millennium Falcon was very popular here in New Zealand, so I didn't have too many to be able to pick between. So this is the one that I have, and at first glance, this looks pretty good. We can see that we have all of the paint really matching up to the details. I like the kind of the spray back here. I like the sort of dirty, because the Millennium Falcon, it's going to be a bit dinged up, isn't it? It's not a clean ship. So I really like the overall weathering. We can see that we have a very, very light grey base with a bit of a more of a mid-grey sort of weathering applied all over it. And it doesn't look blotchy or, you know, like it's been spilt or anything like that on it. I think it looks pretty even, which is really nice because of course it's gonna throw our eye off and make it look like a toy if there's something where it obviously looks like it's been painted. This is really fantastic. Of course, the Millennium Falcon has so much surface detail. There's so many of these little lines and all of these details, particularly here in the back. These little bits are actually raised. You can see that there. And to actually hold them, because they are metal, they feel a little bit like a spike. Makes it a little bit uncomfortable to hold it just there. We've got that bright blue engine color there, painted very nicely, very tidily in there. We can see here that this is sort of formed by two parts. We've got a little bit of a gap here. We can see it's a lot tighter over here, generally speaking. We don't get gaps like that in this Hot Wheels line. It's a little bit hard to see details like that because it was packaged on the side. You're not going to see that until you get it out of the box. It's a little bit of more of a gap than I'm used to seeing in the Hot Wheels line, but it's not too bad. I really like the paintwork on this one. Even like these details here, it's fully recessed in those little circle detail spots. Let's see this. Oh, yes, we have a plastic sort of radar dish here, and it's got a nice weathering to it, and I can turn it. Of course, it looks a little bit odd to sort of turn it around and face it in different directions. It's a little bit clean on the back, so it stands out a little bit, but that front sort of dish there is nicely weathered and it looks very good from the front. So yes, you can turn that particular aspect if you want, but generally speaking, there isn't too much that moves on the Millennium Falcon. We can see that we've got those sort of top turrets there. Just a quick note here, something I didn't notice straight away is that this little plastic disc with the turret can actually move around. So if yours is pointing in a direction that you're not quite a fan of, know that you can move it around. The one on the top of mine moves fairly easily, so I can pose it whichever direction I like. The one on the underside is a little bit tighter, but it does also pivot as well. So you can pose it however you like. A really cool feature for this vehicle. I really like the colors on the underside as well. We've still got that very even weathering. We've got some yellow and red little accent pieces here as well as some dark gray. Really fun. We can see the 4 rivet points where this has been attached, basically the 2 pieces together. Nice and subtle on the underside. Yeah, and we can see that we also have a little bit of an attachment point here where we're going to put it on the stand very shortly. Very nice. I love the level of detail. This is the underside, and we've still got a lot of paint, a lot of details. Once this is on my bookshelf, I'm not going to see this very much at all. I love how much work and effort has gone into all of this. We've got a really nice kind of recess here in between the sort of mandibles of the ship. We've got some lovely black detail here for the windows of the cockpit. It is not hollow. We don't have translucent plastic. This is just a solid piece here with black used to define the windows of the cockpit there. It doesn't move or do anything else here. Very nice. Oh, it's just such an iconic ship. I really like the size of this. You can see it's kind of about the size of my hand, which is such a good size to fit on a bookshelf or something like that. There are some beautiful versions out there. Obviously, that enormous Hasbro version that came out many years ago, the Micro Galaxy Squadron one. There is one in the Mission Fleet line. But there's just something about this that's so compact. It's just, it can fit on anybody's shelf or put it near your computer, your workstation. I think just about every Star Wars fan needs a Millennium Falcon of some variety. And this is such a great price point and size. It's just perfect. I love the details. I can't stop staring at it. Very, very cool. So let's quickly take a look at the battle damaged version. Wow, this one, it's most of it is pretty much the same, but there's something that's very sort of darker because we've got these big, angry, black battle damaged parts of it. So when looking up really, really close, we can kind of see the dots. And one thing that I noticed particularly on the Ghost and TIE Fighter ones was that when I was comparing them in the store, the battle damaged was identical. So I feel like it is a digital print or some kind of sophisticated decal that is applied to it, because it is really uniform. If you do have the opportunity to see multiple battle damaged variants in your store shelf, you'll see that the placement and the actual pattern is really identical. I love that they have that really down to a T, so it's consistent. So collectors don't have to worry about getting one that's like blotchy or, you know, just looks messy. I love how consistent they are. I think even the weathering on this, this section here is darker. You can kind of see between the two. So it gives it a much more weathered finish. You know, this one's seen some damage, and there's also battle damage on the bottom as well. This is really quite fun. I love the fiery sort of yellow and red that they use for the battle damage. It looks really recent and raw and still sort of flaming hot. Something that I think is really quite fun is the Hot Wheels logo has a very sort of a flame with red and yellow. And so this kind of makes me think of the Hot Wheels logo. It sort of looks flamey. It's very similar colors. I think that that's kind of like a fun little nod that they're kind of making us think of the Hot Wheels logo with the battle damage that they use on their Star Wars starships. Also, I think it's interesting that the printing on this one here goes over the rivet. It's kind of interesting. It kind of hides that one. I think that that's really quite fun. And yes, so the underside, very similar weathering. There will be a little bit different. This one's got a slightly different sort of weathering style on this underside. I can sort of see, I want to say slightly more brush strokes. If I have a look here, we've kind of got more of a brush stroke effect. And you can kind of see it here. And then if I look at this one looks more like a dry brushing or a sponge perhaps. You can see that we've got very different weathering styles on the underside. From the top, it kind of looks, yeah, we've got that same sort of style. I can just make out sort of the edges of some of the weathering sections, and this one is very different. I think personally, I don't know which kind of weathering style I prefer. They do look different, and I'll put some pictures up so you can kind of see. They're a little bit hard to hold because they are metal. They do get very heavy. I think it's interesting that we've got different weathering styles used here. Generally speaking, on the other ships I've compared, it's been very, very similar, the weathering style. I wasn't expecting to actually sort of notice the differences here. Very interesting. Okay, and this, we've got a much cleaner dish on this one, which is kind of funny because of how battle damaged and weathered this one. This one actually looks dirtier. You can kind of see it looks much darker on camera. This one's paler, but I really do like this battle damage. The three, got a very big section here at the front. This one up here, and this one up here. Makes me think of Solo and what happens to the poor Millennium Falcon in that film. I kind of want to see a Solo movie version of the Millennium Falcon in the Hot Wheels Starship Select range. I think that'd be really fun. Obviously, we could have that sort of filled in mandible section. I think that'd be really fun, and maybe we would have a battle damaged version like we get towards the end of the film. That would be really fun. So, wow. There was actually more differences between these two than I was expecting. I hadn't noticed that the sort of disc at the top was in a completely different orientation. But other than that, I think the weathering is really fun. I don't know which one I prefer. Obviously, you can't go wrong with the classic Millennium Falcon. There's something very fun about this. I think obviously if you only have the budget or the space for one Millennium Falcon, you're going to want the original. But if you are a bit of a completionist or like different versions of things, this one is definitely fun. I'm very glad I was able to find this one locally. Did have to hunt for it. Very, very happy. So let's get these stands assembled. I really love the stands from the Hot Wheels line. It really just adds a little bit of something. Puts them in a sort of flight position for display, because the Millennium Falcon, this one does not have landing gear or anything like that. It just looks a little bit flat and not quite right with it just sitting there. So we can see we've got two pieces here to assemble. We have the actual sort of stand piece itself with a ball-shaped attachment point, and then we have the base plate. It's wrapped up in tissue paper to protect the printing. So we can see across the front edge we have the Star Wars logo and the Hot Wheels logo sort of stamped in there, nice and subtle. And then on the top we have the ship name, Millennium Falcon, trademarked, and a silver faction logo, which of course is the Rebel Alliance Starbird symbol. So let's put these two pieces together, clicked in there nicely. So let's get this attachment point here onto the top of this one. Generally just takes a bit of pushing. It doesn't really sort of snap into place, so you can take them off later if you want to. Don't know why, because I think they look cool on their display stands, but you do have that option. Wow, that looks so cool. It just looks better lifted up, doesn't it, in a sort of a flight pose. Just makes it look like a display piece. That looks absolutely fantastic. And because it is mounted on a ball joint, we can, as the box describes, rotate it 360. You can have it posed whichever way you want. Maybe you've got a tight display bookshelf. Maybe you want to sort of tip it down, tip it to the side, make it look like it's doing something cool. Maybe you've got some of the other Hot Wheels ships beside it. You want to kind of create a scene there. I think that that's really fun. So let's get the other one on its stand as well, because I think these look so cool. Of course, because I've got two, I don't have to display them the same way. So this one's also wrapped up in tissue paper. There is no difference between the display stands for the variant ones. You know, like the box, the standard one has sort of red logo and the variant has blue. The display stands are the same. So there we go, snaps together nicely. Let's get this one mounted as well. We can see that just applying a bit of pressure, wiggling kind of helps there, and they are very sturdy. So if I show you this, that's a pretty heavy metal Millennium Falcon holding very securely onto the stand. And I have to say, I always find the Hot Wheels stands, no matter how far I sort of tip forward, it never feels like it's going to tip over. They feel really sturdy. They've got the center of balance really, really nicely done. So I can tip it quite far forward, and this is a pretty big ship. I can tip it forward, and then perhaps if I want something different, perhaps I could have this one posed this way and have some cool sort of engine action here and showing off that battle damage there at the back. Looks really cool. And of course, everything lines up really nicely. We can have the bases showing the same way because we can rotate them around. So I think these are really fun, particularly for such a flat starship. I like them tipped down, so if I'm walking by my display shelf, I can sort of see the surface detail. If it's directly straight like that, you're going to kind of get that forward view there. Oh, I've just noticed a different paint detail here. This one has cream on its little end points of the mandibles. This one is the same color as the rest of the ship. That's interesting. I hadn't seen the difference there. Very interesting. It's a little bit easier to look at the differences when I'm not trying to sort of juggle the two heavy metal pieces in my hands. That's really interesting. But now we can kind of see the way that they look together. Oh man, you can't go wrong with the classic Millennium Falcon. It just looks absolutely great. I love the details, all of these little surface textures, the weathering. It just looks like the Millennium Falcon we know and love, and such a great size. Comes with a display stand. Honestly, even if you don't own any Star Wars collectibles, you could just put this on your desk, on your bookshelf, just to remind you of the saga adventures. And then if you're a collector and like variants, this one is such a fun one to put next to it. Have a little bit of a before and after battle moment there. And I love the way it's so easy to change the display options on these ones. You can have them sort of displayed in different ways, like this. Have it from the side. Awesome. Oh, I absolutely love it. It's so fun when you've had a collectible in its box for a little while and then you get it out, get to see all of the details. They look cool in their box, but these things just absolutely look beautiful when you get them out and put them on display. The lighting is so much better. Those Hot Wheels boxes don't have a window at the top, so I think they do really look so much better out of the box. Oh, this was so much fun. I absolutely love these. So great. Oh, so happy to have these two versions of the Millennium Falcon in my collection. Going to put them on display beside my Hot Wheels Starships Select ships. I can't wait to see what other Star Wars starships Hot Wheels does in this line next. They recently did the Gauntlet Fighter from The Mandalorian. Absolutely love the detail on that one. Really can't wait to see what they do next. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up to more Star Wars collectibles and had a lot of fun. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Hot Wheels fan, I've also unboxed the TIE Fighter and matching variant. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as a whole Hot Wheels unboxing playlist. This is the way.